afternoon, and thanks for stopping by Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva. When it comes to recycling, I think it's safe to say we all want to do our part. But for many of us, our enthusiasm outruns expectation, and we either recycle something that can't be recycled and create a bigger mess for Vermont solid waste districts to contend with. For this trash talk, we're joined by Alyssa Eiklor, an environmental analyst with Vermont Agency of Natural Resources. Thank you for coming in, Alyssa.
Hi, Keith. So happy to be here.
Great. Before we get our hands dirty, and I promise I will not recycle these trash puns too much more, talk about your work with the Department of Environmental Conservation, Waste Management, and Prevention Division of Solid Waste Program.
Sure. So my program, we regulate all of the transfer stations and landfills, recycling centers throughout Vermont, and then my part is a little bit more outreach, contracts, a lot of data crunching, pretty diverse work, but all helping Vermonters recycle and compost better and make less waste in the first place.
So if, like me, you go to the dump on Saturday morning, those folks and you are all sort of working together.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. How are Vermonters doing when it comes to recycling?
Overall, actually quite well. So basically, if you think about all of the things that could, or in Vermont, we should even say should be recycled, because of course we have the Universal Recycling Law, which bans 6 recyclable materials from the trash. So that's paper, cardboard, newspaper, magazines, all of that. Plastics 1 and 2, glass, aluminum, and steel. And this is basically like food and beverage containers. You can think of it broadly. So those are the things that Vermonters, could and should recycle. So if you take that whole universe of all of that material, we recycle about 72% of it, which is actually a really great rate. And we know that data pretty precisely because every 5 years we hire a team of contractors to do a waste composition study, which is just as arduous and messy as you might imagine. So literally they go to these transfer stations, to the landfill, they take samples of trash, they open it up, and they sort out every single material, and there's more than 65 different categories.
Okay.
But what this gives us is just really detailed data on a snapshot really, but of exactly what Vermonters as a whole are throwing away. And so this was just conducted last year in 2023. The report is just out, and so I took that data and I made some visual representations because I always think, you can look at a graph, but it's much more meaningful
so let's
to look
start
at data.
on top
Yeah, so well, let's start with the true trash. So
Okay.
people do, obviously, there is trash that just belongs in the trash. It really can't be recycled, can't be composted. So Vermonters as a whole throw away about 1.6 pounds per person per day of true trash. So this is things like plastic that can't be recycled, paper that has metallic foil on it. It's beautiful, but it can't be recycled. Diapers honestly make up a huge portion. So there's true trash.
True trash.
But then, yes, people also throw things in the trash that they shouldn't. So for instance, this bag represents all of the paper and cardboard that people should recycle but don't. So it's not so much, it's about 1/4 pound per person per day. And we can contrast that with the amount of paper that people actually recycle.
Here, so this is the was thrown in the trash
Yes.
bag, and this is the was actually recycled
Was actually
bags.
recycled bag, exactly.
Not
So
bad.
that's about 3/4 pound
Not
instead.
bad. Not bad.
Exactly. And so then the other main piece is, like I said, the containers. So the metal, the glass, the plastic. And so this is what was recycled, which is about 1/4 pound per day. A lot of these things are really light. I didn't put glass in here because glass was actually too heavy to represent it. And it's less. So in the trash, it's about 1.12. So again, about half that people throw in the trash.
Okay, so this is what got recycled, and you this time have the stuff that was just thrown in the trash.
That was just
should have
thrown
been
in the
recycled.
trash. Right.
Okay.
And sometimes these things that should have been recycled were so contaminated, so dirty, that trash really was the right place for them.
Okay.
Even though the material, if it was clean,
Yeah.
could have been in the trash.
We're going to get into that in a little while. There's some subtle differences. What I'm hearing you say here is that small actions really do add up. Throwing, recycling, doing that stuff. You're going to get this as opposed to this from just giving it a second, washing it out, rinsing it out,
Yes, absolutely. And another category where the small actions really add up is this one, which is potentially recyclable things. So, if we say recycling, most people picture your blue bin. You toss it in here, it goes to the materials recovery facility.
Yep.
That's where it's sorted. But there's a lot of other items that can be recycled, but just not in your blue bin. So this includes like batteries, really important to keep out of the trash. Don't put them in your blue bin either. Recycle them separately. Even things like these, I don't know what you call them, but they hold beverage.
The beer. The beer.
There's a program where Vermont breweries are actually collecting these and reusing them. So a lot of like co-ops are collecting them. Black plastic can be recycled, but there's really not much of a market for it. So most of the time in Vermont, it's trash. Same with the styrofoam. It technically can be recycled, but in general, here it's trash. Textiles, fabrics, even like towels, sheets, etc., that can be recycled into rags. So it's really actually important to keep those materials out of the trash.
I'm hearing you say, the other thing I heard you say was that, you know, this can't be turned into anything, the black plastic. So should we be seeking, if we want to be a part of this, is the next step sort of buying recycled materials?
Absolutely. So that's exactly it. So like whether or not something can be recycled is a multi-part question. So part of it is, can it be turned into something else? And the other part is, does the infrastructure exist to collect it and actually turn it into the other thing? And so yes, buying recycled is what helps if you want to support recycling, like recycling right, but then also buying recycled content. So like toilet paper is a really great item that's really easy to find, you know, toilet paper with recycled content. And then otherwise it's, you know, toilet paper from trees. We don't want that.
And that's at the sort of bottom of the waste stream, no puns intended.
It is.
You can't really do much more with it. It's sort of reached its level of once you become toilet paper, that's about as much as we can recycle you.
So true. But garbage bags are another one that you can easily buy with recycled content. And again, they're nothing's going to happen to them, but we'd rather they be made with recycled materials than raw materials.
Now, I have been fortunate to have gone through a waste sort. I did a story on a waste sort one time, so I know of which I speak. And a big item that we've left out of here, I'm going to move some of these down.
Yeah, we can move them down.
Is food, right? Because that's the thing that's always in the trash that makes up a big part of the waste stream.
Yes.
So what have you got for examples of food? How do we do?
The story is a little bit more complicated, partly because so many Vermonters compost at home, which is fantastic. It just means we don't have the data. So we have pretty solid data on what's in the trash. And so this is representative of what's in the trash, and it's about 0.6 pounds per person per day. So a little bit more than half a pound per person per day. We can then estimate what's being, you know, composted or also anaerobically digested, so kept out of the trash, and it's about 0.72 pounds per person per day. So a little bit more, but there's still being more food in the trash than we would like to see. So there's a lot of room for improvement.
When I was putting this program together, one of the things I was thinking about was wish cycling.
Yes.
Tell me about wish cycling. I live with some wish cyclers, so tell me about wish cycling.
I think we all do.
And the pros and cons of wish cycling.
Sure. So basically the term wish cycling is if you put something in your blue bin because you hope that it's going to be recycled, but maybe it can't be. Like black plastic is a great example. It seems like it should be recyclable, and like I said, technically it could be, but that other piece of being able to actually have an end market to recycle it. And then a lot of the recycling centers, they actually use technology that doesn't recognize the black plastic, so sometimes it's just missed.
And it's going to end up going into the trash. We're creating more work for those people that are sorting.
Exactly. So that's really what I think it's easy to forget the human side, but it really is. It's real Vermonters sorting out all of our materials. If we put in dirty peanut butter jars, they're dealing with dirty materials. You don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so it really is, it's people.
So you made our segue to our peanut butter jar. I have to thank my daughter who finished this peanut butter jar and then very dutifully cleaned it out for us. And you know, you're the expert. I think that she gets points for that.
Absolutely, it's beautiful.
But this is one of those materials that you really have to clean it out before you can put it in the bin.
You do. So the general idea is clean and dry, because dry matters too. Water can also contaminate paper, like wet paper then can't be recycled. And that one, I mean, that looks really, really clean. I'd say she gets an A+. Like even a little bit dirtier is okay.
Okay. So if there's a little bit of peanut butter left, but for the most part,
the tiniest bit,
the trace amounts. And what about caps? Can you put caps and should I cap this
Yeah,
and recycle it
so
or take the cap off?
That's the challenging thing with giving statewide answers. So you referred to
okay.
solid waste districts. So
Right.
that's exactly the way Vermont works, is that every town has to have a solid waste plan. They can either have their own plan, and there's about 12 towns that do. They're
Okay.
completely independent, or they can be part of, they can sort of have a collective, so like a solid waste district or alliance. And they then function as their own municipalities with their own, sometimes their own
Rules.
ordinances, rules,
Yep.
exactly, which just means in some cases we have a patchwork of how things are done.
Okay.
So the things that are actually mandated by legislature, that's statewide. So
Gotcha.
you have to the materials are banned from the trash statewide.
Right.
But then there's some districts that say, sure, lids are fine. There's others that say, no, please leave them off.
So check with your solid waste district.
Check
which
locally.
Gets us into, I brought this up, no free ads here on Across the Fence, but this is our local pizza place in where I live. And so pizza boxes, when we were speaking on the phone, you're like, absolutely, recycle them. And I said that our solid waste district says no,
Right.
depending on how the inside of the pizza box looks.
Yeah.
So this would almost be like the peanut butter example, where cheese and sauce or whatever in here, kind of like that peanut butter that's on there. Right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. If there's food in there, I mean, I know sometimes they'll even get crusts. Absolutely, make sure there's no crusts. But you're right, even cheese and sauce, that in that case, I would say probably recycle the lid.
Right,
Maybe the
right.
bottom is trash.
Right, okay.
But increasingly, I have been hearing that a lot of places, like this level of greasiness is okay. But you're
Okay.
right, always check first.
We talked about the 4-packs for all our brewer friends out
Yes.
here. This is one that I took out of our recycling bin this morning, and these are usually mixed media, you call them, right? Cardboard and a glossy surface, something that was in the freezer, but you gave me the okay with this.
Yeah, so for this one, to me, it tears like paper, like a little bit of like the glossy magazines are
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Where you start having an issue is if you look on the inside and you can really feel plastic on the inside, or sometimes it's foil on the
Foil,
inside.
right,
Those are like, sure, could someone recycle them someday somehow?
Right.
Maybe, but right now they're trash.
And we're talking about that mixed media, those two
Right.
things. Last example is we're running out of time here. Cat food can, it's got a paper label, but it's metal.
Yeah.
Not mixed media.
Right, and so I would say A+, especially if it was a larger can, you can
Okay.
take the label off, and then the label has a chance of being actually captured with the paper, and the
Okay.
metal is with metal. But I think they've really tried to go toward convenience. So if you just recycle it like this, the metal will still be recycled, the paper will just get
Excellent.
destroyed.
Excellent. That's going to take care of Across the Fence for today. Alyssa, thank you so much. This was great. I guess my wish cyclers at home are actually doing a good job, so kudos to them. I want to thank everyone here at WCX who makes this program possible. And as always, thank you for stopping by Across the Fence.